Welcome, everyone, to the Rewards Working Group meeting of March 9. We have a lot to talk about today. And like main talking points, the first rewards quantify round closed today. The work is done. The first quantification round is done, and that is good news in the new system. So I'm really happy about that. Let's talk about what's next. So that initial work is done, and then we have to do the rest of the work, and we also have to plan for the second quantification round. But before we do that, let's do a quick round of status updates from development for Praise and the source grid implementation. So let's start with the Praise and Nebs. Would you like to start?
Yeah, okay. So I was mostly working on export. I had a lot of bugs to fix there, and looks like it's fine now. It's working, like you said. And to that, we talked about what I should do next. So I started with file upload for settings. So administrators can change a logo and stuff like that. It's a component that we will use in different places in the app.
Yeah, we agreed to spend a little bit more time on sort of the making Praise more stable, and
Yep.
before we start adding new glossy features. So that we have some work to do left to do there. And Matt, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so last week I finished up a few, one bigger ticket that was improving the distribution of quantifiers over the range of baskets of praise to assign them to, and that seems to be a bunch more reliable now. So now I'm working on modifying the authentication architecture to support refresh tokens, so that the user only has a short-lived access token, which they can refresh for a new one using their refresh token within a longer time period. So yeah, I'll do that, and then I'll just, once I get that done, I'll just grab whatever's available from the ZenHub backlog.
And also, what we plan to do with the Praise in the short term is to mark the current feature set sort of as a version and merge it with the main branch and get into the habit of setting version numbers and maintaining a change log. I think I maybe mentioned this last week as well. And what have I been doing anything for Praise development? Not so much. I've done some smaller UI stuff, perhaps. Yeah, the Praise export button, for instance, is always available now. We don't have to close a period to be able to export the Praise, so that's good. We can export the Praise as a CSV file even while quantifying if we need to do some preliminary check of the results, etc. So maybe that's it for Praise status updates. And Matteo is not here for source cred updates. I can tell you the little I know. I haven't actually been able to. I haven't had time, or I haven't looked at it yet. The new setup of the source cred instance, but Matteo tells me that the instance has been configured with the parameters we have been discussing, that we discussed with Seth from SourceCred, and the instance has been reset. So all the old grain distributions have been removed, the test distributions we did last spring. So basically, according to Matteo, the source grid system is configured and up and running, and yeah. So hopefully that work stream and that issue is completed. So one of the final checks will be to configure source grid to do grain distributions on a schedule that we like, so that it does the first grain distribution on in the end of July last year, and then do a distribution every week. So for every 2-week praise period or rewards period, we will use 2 grain distributions. So status updates finished. And that brings us to the closing of rewards round 1. And yeah, next steps, one might say. But I'm super happy to be able to show you this. That all the quantifiers have finished their tasks on time.
In 3 days. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Mitch, would you like to take over and say something about the quant?
Well, we did it in 3 days, and we kind of said that we were gonna have like a post-review session. I think that's kind of what we outlined for people that want to join and like ask questions and do any last modifications. And so we can try and set that up, but I think like because we already had like a session yesterday, I don't think we'll be able to effectively find a time today for something on Thursday or Friday that will be useful. But I'm wondering what you guys think. Like for me to throw down a let us meet and be like, guys, we need to pick a time tomorrow or Friday between, you know, a dozen or so people. I mean, even then, there wasn't like a lot of quantifiers that were able to show up. It was mostly people who hadn't registered yet that wanted to ask questions.
I'm thinking when more and more of the development and startup work streams in this working group becomes finished, what do we use this Wednesday session for? And we plan that the quant should take 3 days, Monday to Wednesday. So shouldn't we move towards using the Wednesday evening session, or depending on where you live, this session basically of doing the post quant analysis, doing this session every 2 weeks then?
You mean like this working group call instead having this like post quant session? Or is there a different call you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about this call.
It could be good, but I think when we're going to have a lot of questions right now instead of later. I think this is when it's going to be the most valuable to have these sessions.
The sessions should really be a practice that every quantifier understand that they will commit to this session when they start to quantify. Like this is part of the analysis that we'll have later, and having the inputs from the quantification is very important. And that was why we used to do quantifications all together in the same room. And there are some components from that we can't lose it. So I don't think we should ever think that the quantification process will be all async, but that we are minimizing the commitment from like 3 hours to 1. And that 1 hour every 2 weeks should be like something we.
it'll be very hard to get a random pool of quantifiers and like tell them it's mandatory, but I agree with you that like we should always have a space where people can jump in and like ask questions and work through things together.
Yeah, it's not just
And
for asking questions, but to like have the tweak session in the end, you know, to see like, okay, was there something that felt weird here? We'll look at the results together. And then since we're doing that tweak session all together, we can also ask some questions and see if people
Yeah.
had insights.
I think we're talking about the same thing, and I think we're on the same page. So
yeah,
then do we, I'm thinking for this week, since it's like, it's super short notice, and ideally, like I should have set this up last Friday to have like this live tweak session this week, but it was like because we already had like this live stuff going.
no worries. And we won't be able to do any real payouts anyway, since none of the actual Praise receivers have activated their accounts in the new Praise system. So we don't have any Ethereum addresses. So it will still take a little bit of time before we can do the first payout for this first quant. So we could do the post quant tweak session beginning of next week as well, or something. It's this is we are in a setup situation, so we won't expect everything to be going super smooth the first time.
Okay. So then what I can do is I can set up a tweak session for next week, and then we can close the quant on Friday and open up the next quant session, which will be all of August at the end of next week, or do we want to do it quicker than that?
Who here was a quantifier? Livy was a quantifier. Mitch, were you a quantifier? Yeah, you were. How long time did it take?
I did 100 in about half an hour.
Yeah, I think mine was 240 and it took me less than an hour or two.
Yeah, because I mean, ideally we would like to get back to present time as soon as possible. So ideally, if we could stomach it, we would like to do like 1 month every week for the it's August, September, October, November, December, January, February. It's for the upcoming 7 weeks, and then be back to present time.
My idea is I can reach out to the quantifiers and check in with them like one-on-one, and then we'll close this session. I'll close the quant actually on Friday, and then I'll set up the Let Us Meet for the live tweak session. We'll open up August 2021 on Monday, and we'll have a tweak session already going that can be scheduled for next week, and I'll do that now basically.
Yeah. The tweak session next week would be for this first rewards round, or for the second one?
I'm saying we forego the tweak session, and I'll just do one-to-one, like outreach, and then because like if we want to close this thing on Friday and start the next one, or can you have multiple open at the same time?
Yeah, but we don't need, it doesn't need to be open in the Praise system, because the tweak session takes place in Google spreadsheets. So we could close down
the tweak session, because we're not actually it's like if the quantifiers weren't sure about something, and if they have questions and they wanted to like change the way that they evaluated the praise. I think this is the misunderstanding here. Like, is this what you were thinking too, Libby? Like actually being in the dashboard and changing the way that people did their quantification?
Yeah, I think I don't really know actually, because I think we would have. It feels like everything is new, But definitely, for example, I saw that there was some phrases from Common Stack that Christopher was saying that shouldn't be there, but they ended up there. So there was a lot of praises that were dismissed. Like for this period, maybe other people that didn't know those were Common Stack praise didn't dismiss them, or maybe there are some things to talk about that we will know only when we see the dashboard together.
Yeah, let me show you how I have envisioned this to happen, and it's using so this is what Nugget has been working on. This is what Nugget expects from us, is that we export the quantified praise from the praise system, and then we do manual adjustments in a Google spreadsheet. That is the post quant analysis session, and then we export this spreadsheet to Nugget as a CSV file.
But so who's we though?
We are the quantifiers with the one.
Yeah. Rather than going into a spreadsheet, wouldn't it be just be easier for them to use the dashboard?
That wouldn't allow us to do like manual corrections like we have discussed. The quantifier go together as a group and saying like we need to do this and this, something that is that the praise system doesn't allow, for instance. So in this case,
and then how do we mark things as duplicate or dismiss them in the spreadsheet?
no, that is already done. So all the information is already here. It doesn't look super nice because I just already in here. We can make it.
So then the thing is like, if we don't have that basic functionality and we're reviewing things and we're finding duplicates and things that need to be dismissed, like Common Stack praise, how is this easier or different than using the praise dashboard?
We have discussed that we would like to have the possibility of doing manual corrections. For instance, in the text you describe the ability to add contributions that have not been praised at all. For instance,
Add contributions that haven't been praised at all.
So
I discussed that with Livy, and I think we should try to avoid that. We did that last summer when we did some retroactive praise for old contributions that were significant, so like the invention of the augmented bonding curve and stuff like that. No, and to be clear, I would be super happy if we could skip this step, because exporting all the data into a Google spreadsheet and allowing for manual adjustments there, that is of course a source of uncertainty, and yeah, it would be better if we skip this step and we just exported the data directly to Nugget's dashboard.
Sorry.
But I believe that the quantifiers would go together as a group, and they would look over this list of praise and see if anything looked weird, and I believe still that a spreadsheet like this allows you to view the full period praise you get a better overview than having to click through one by one in the praise system.
The view can still happen in the dashboard, right? Just having someone that has admin power, and then all the view could happen in the dashboard, and just if something needs to be changed, then going specifically to that one in the spreadsheet.
Yeah, the view looks currently like this. Of course, we can make new views for specific needs. That takes some time. But we can also share this view that you see on my screen now. Look at individual praise. Like, yeah, everyone agreed that this was a really small contribution. Nothing weird with that. Go back, take the next one. But of course, that is a bit cumbersome if it's in this case somewhere over 800 praise for 2 weeks. But I'm not sure that scrolling through a spreadsheet with 800 lines makes it any significantly more simple.
Yeah, I'm looking through this thing. It's a beast, and this is just 2 weeks.
Yes, since it has all the information, all the information is, of course, we can hide everything that we don't want to see. So making it.
Yeah, looking at the spreadsheet makes me want to skip this step as well.
Yeah.
Maybe what we could do, if that's easy, is in the dashboard to have a view. Is there any way that we can view like the values that everyone gave one next to the other? So we would see, for example, if there's one contribution that received 1 from one person and 144 from another person, that would like kind of come up to the eye.
Yeah, and let's discuss that. What are we looking for when the quantification is finished? It's done. Everyone has done their work, and we want to look through everything. What are we looking for? We're looking for outliers, like you said, like where everyone else agrees and someone gives something a top score, or the opposite, that everyone deems a contribution to be really a massive, big contribution, and then one quantifier just gives it a 1 instead. What else do we want to look for in the data?
In the praise data, and there's no way that people could collude.
I guess the only concern is like people are doing this on their own, and there's no type of check or of seeing, like having an awareness of what other people. I don't know what is exactly the fear there. Maybe just that someone quantifies in a very random way, like not even reading through the stuff, or like, do we have any type of control if that happens? If a person is just, I'll give whatever value here.
No, I'd say that is the place we are at. The time is now to start discussing what would we like to add to the praise system. Now it's a super manual, and everything we can automate anything. We have been discussing way back that we would like to try to analyze.
So
somehow. Analyze somehow.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, go for it.
So there's the reward board review phase where you're talking about like these aggregate numbers and like in overall, like, is there weirdness or is there stuff missing? That seems like one dashboard view. And then it sounds like what you're talking about now is for the quantifiers themselves to go back and review their work together. Is that a third phase?
Yeah, the reward board we said will not have any direct power to like change the quantification. It's just like a yes no vote to like approve it. So I feel
Okay.
like the only people who can modify the quantification is the quantifiers themselves.
Okay, so then I think the hard part is going to be identifying missing praise. So I think we're going to definitely need like this kind of review dashboard view, or maybe like several different review dashboard views that do a couple like the things you described to like identify outliers or inconsistencies that could be obvious or like automatically identified. But then there's it's the trickiest part is going to be like identifying missing items. So maybe like a deduplicated view or something. We'll have to think about that.
What do you mean by missing items?
You said one of the roles is going to be to see if there's certain praise, like someone wasn't praised for a contribution.
Oh no, that's out of scope.
No. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is way too complex.
Okay.
What I hear though, Matty G, is like it would be cool to take this exported data and instead just have like a dashboard view that's a bit more easier to process. Literally, you could just have
That might
it
be the
open
simplest path. Yeah.
during the call, and then that's what we're looking at.
One main technical question here would be, would we rely on the individual quantifiers at all times correcting their own quantifications? Or would we, so that is one, when we drew this up before we started, we call this step the human verification step, where the quantifiers go together as a group, look over the quantification and can, as a group, make adjustments, which also means that if a quantifier that has misbehaved or not fulfilled their duty or etc., the group can fill in and do the rest of the work if needed. But that requires the quantifiers as a group or an administrator to be able to finish someone else's, to change someone else's quantification, and that is currently not possible. All these dashboards of just showing information in different ways, new ways, those are simple to add. But if we were to allow administrators or other quantifiers to change each other's quantifications, that it would take some more thought and will take slightly longer to implement, and we have to really think that through before we do it.
Because the easiest way to do it would be to say is that the administrator can do it, and so the administrator like has it open with the quantifiers in a call. They're collectively agreeing on stuff. There is a problem because then it's like the administrator is like basically praise God. But we assume on the other end of this that has to be approved by the reward board. So it like, even though they could change it, it could still be rejected by the reward board. So it's like, there is a check on the other end, and that would be the simplest solution that I can think of.
And one feature that we will implement that we haven't, there is not an issue about this yet, but it's high up on the list in the back of my head, is to have sort of a change log. So or a log built into the system. So if an administrator goes in and changes someone's quant, you can see that it will be tracked. It won't be invisible. So basically for all changes, and an administrator changes a setting, that will be tracked.
What if we change that process to something like Matthias said, to create a visualization and an automation that could flag something that is very inconsistent? So if someone just did like a random whatever and it has nothing to do with what other quantifiers did, that would be flagged, automated, because we would be looking for that flag with our human process. But if that can be automated, that's even better. And then if we can see that What's that, Christopher?
That is some sort of normalized curve of your quantification distribution. You give a few of the items the lowest score, the majority of the items some score in between, and then a few of the items a real high score. And now, of course, it's easy to identify the simple outliers. If someone's praise quantification looks like this, they have just given a majority of their assigned praise the top score, which is something that has happened during this quantification. That is really easy to spot, and I think we should do that kind of analysis. And the opposite also, do some simple outlier analysis. If someone just uses the 1s and the 3s, or someone just uses the 144 and the 89s, we can analyze that.
Yeah.
But to
I think it's better to bring into the analysis than, like, it feels, I don't know, before it felt really easy to do these tweaks of the praise, but now the more we talk about it, the more it feels like somehow invasive to tweak it around. That maybe if we just have patterns of things that are kind of off and we can see them, then we time.
Yeah, the other thing on the end is like having some sort of administrative control is like if quantifier goes MIA, you know, how do we deal with that? They get quantified and then like they're nowhere to be found. Like how can we make sure that the process keeps moving?
Yeah, we were talking about the ability to reassign to someone else completely. But I think we need to move on, sort of. This is a super important discussion. I don't know if we came up with any conclusions, but creating a view that looks like this is the main praise list screen. A view that looks like this with additional columns for the quant score, just a quantifier 1, 2, and 3, and those are the scores. That would allow you to really scroll through the list real fast and see. You can read the praise, you can see the scores. Does anything look off? You can have the discussion. You scroll through the list, you have the discussion, and if anything looks weird, you just click on this. Going to the praise. See, no, Christopher is not leading the reward system. That is weird. He should lower his score for this one. And an administrator could do a change on this screen, perhaps.
I mean, what is the magnitude of consequence if somebody abuses their praise quantification powers in a single period? Like, I think that, instead of having the power of an administrator to go in and change things because of a sign of abuse, that you accept that abuse praise, and then just say, hey, this person is not allowed to quantify any further later on. I mean, because it's not like the consequence of it is, somebody may get a little bit extra praise reward, but overall that's not a huge issue. In the long term, I think the value of being a praise quantifier is more valuable than actually abusing the system.
The challenge is identifying that they abused the system.
That's fair. And understanding like what qualifies as abuse.
Yeah. My hunch says that abuse is not the big thing, but there will be a need to make corrections, basically, for other reasons. So in this during this first quant, somehow all the common stack praise were included in the import. So that's a major correction. We need to filter all those out, which was easy because we had that information stored. So.
And there's such classic things like, oh, praise this person for giving a presentation in this conference, and then that person didn't do a presentation. Like this happened.
That is the big thing, and the opposite also. praise this person for doing this semi-vague description. And then during the scroll through discussion, someone says, yeah, but that was a huge presentation. There were 1,000 people in the audience, and that person had worked for weeks with that presentation. Then the group could realize that and adjust that together. But I don't know if we should have the ambition to do that level of analysis, because that takes time. Now we did 2 weeks. Yeah, we did 2 weeks. So basically, this quant is as big as the regular quants will be going forward.
Yeah, I think the problem is not so much the bigger contributions, because usually if something is really big, a lot of people praise for that something, and then you can kind of understand the magnitude. But then for things that people didn't do at all, and someone just thought they did, or if someone maliciously praises for some reason, then those are the hard ones. It requires a person knowing to flag that.
Yeah. Let me show you again in this spreadsheet, just so you see what this is the possibility we have currently. If you hide all the stuff that you don't need, and also, can we make this one? No, we can't. That is annoying. Okay. This perhaps? No? Okay. So in theory, we could see both the praise description and the score at the same time, but my spreadsheet refused to let me just now.
Is speaking at a conference considered praisable action?
That is a discussion we can have during the post-quant analysis.
Okay.
A big discussion.
Because there's like a gap that I get worried about when I'm looking at the entire reward system, is that people who are not in a paid role and or not getting compensated for a bounty, so like a new contributor actually creating some type of work for the TEC or a specific working group, they are that type of praise for that type of work may not be recognized, and it's not being compensated on the other end. And I'm wondering how we distinguish that. And if that's just the major gap
those
that we
practices, we hope that those practices will form in the quantifier group over time. That they will develop a culture or a set of best practices to reward. That they also, as a group or the reward board, made more in the analysis. The final analysis can make those kind of come to those insights and also communicate those to the community, like to improve the quality of praise.
Is more about the praiser, because it's like, should I be recognizing this work, not knowing if it's being compensated or not through praise, and because if that's the case, then it's hard to know what to praise and what not to praise as a praiser. Because I just want to be able to recognize that person's work. Hopefully I know their situation and how they're being compensated for it.
I think that's more like a cultural practice that we're gonna have to figure out over time.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to like focus on the technical here that Christopher's got in the agenda.
Yeah.
That's fair.
There's too many tangents, man. It's getting crazy.
Yeah. So what you're seeing on the screen now is the spreadsheet with all the noisy columns hidden, and now it looks a little bit more digestible. You can actually scroll down through this, look at the praise, the reasons. You can see the scores that the quantifiers has given, and when you see something that looks off, you can make a correction. You can add to the average score, or you can subtract from it. You make a correction comment, and that produces a final quant score. So that is the clunky spreadsheet-based process I have designed and talked with Nugget about, and then we export this spreadsheet, and he uses that in the analysis dashboard. So in this case, I have it identify all the praise that belongs to the common stack, and I have subtracted the average score that they had been given. So basically, taking the score down to 0, making them not worth anything because it's the wrong community. So this is what we have for now.
One action item I think we could have from this conversation is the suggestion Mattia gave to create a visualization and some type of automation that allows us to spot some of these things without needing to go through everything manually. And then once we have them spotted, just work on those ones and forget about the rest and trust that the tool is doing the best work. And then as we have for now, Mitch, and then as we have the analysis happening, we'll have more data to see the behavior over time.
Yeah. And the question remains, how do we make changes? Do we allow for administrators to make changes in the praise system, or do the quantifiers themselves have to make the changes?
I think.
So I think that is... Sorry, go ahead.
I think admin can make changes, but with the change log, like it has to be traceable somehow. I think like inevitably we're gonna run into issues, and it'd be cool to have like this automated system and eventually not have to have an administrator have so much power. But I think for right now, there's gonna be a lot of like weird stuff that like it'll be just easier to like go and fix, but still have it accountable somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be easier to do through admin rather than all of the quantifiers. And since there's this point of like, okay, maybe not all quantifiers can come to this call, we could make this call more attractive to just be like more attractive and more optional. Like just come to share insights. And I think if this is a very free space, people would come more and then talk about things they felt it was weird if it's not mandatory. And then we can look at those things together with the automated spots that we have that were flagged.
Yeah. Good input, and we will try to make this happen quite soon. Some of it at least. For now, we have the spreadsheet so we can make changes, even though it's not ideal. I agree. Let's see. We went off on a slight tangent. We got stuck in one subject. No, it's super important. Let's see what we need to address. We have a little over 10 minutes left. And what else? So closing the rewards round, we agreed not to do a post-quant session for this round, but instead open up for the August quant on Monday, and then plan for a tweak session by the end of next week, or what?
For late next week.
Late next.
Somewhere between Wednesday to Friday. I'm thinking.
Yeah. And then we have stuff to do with those final steps of the process. That means that Nugget needs to take the export we give him, and the dashboard needs to be. It doesn't work completely, or at least I wasn't able to get it running completely. So it shows a bunch of errors, but we get some of the nice graphs further down. So a lot of praise, people. Like the praise reward distribution and the praise flows showing who sent the most praise and who received the most praise. And not surprisingly, during this period, it was Manus and Evie who sent the most praise, and the big receivers were Livy and Griff and Nate. So, and then I think we have some work to do as well when it comes to the reward board DAO, or is everything set up and good to go there? If we, Mitch, if we receive a distribution CSV file, can we just push a button and distribute? Mitch, are you on mute?
Sorry, Griff's distracting me. What did you say?
I was still.
He was cheering because he got the most praise over here, and it's distracting me.
No, I said, do we have work we need to do on the reward board DAO part of the process? See if we.
Yeah. I mean, we gotta make a session to decide some of these like high level params.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and so I think that's going to be best just to like get the reward board in and just like focus on these things and try to not go on too many tangents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to let the rest of the group know, we plan to set these high level parameters for praise and for source cred, and those are the main ones, and summarize those in a forum post that we can duplicate for each praise period.
Yeah, and it would be cool. Like we'll do this high level stuff, and then we'll make sure that it's somewhere, like you said, public, and then if there's advice or whatever, you can get that. Might be worthwhile to look at membership too. I know Ryder, for example, hasn't really shown up for a while, and I know she's on the reward board. I don't know if Chewy's still interested in it. You know, what should this look like?
We'll see. We'll invite everyone, and I think we said that if someone is not taking part or joining for 3 times or 3 distributions or whatever, that person has to step out.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. We did have a process for it. Okay. Is somebody gonna take the lead on scheduling that?
Yeah, maybe I can do that.
Okay, wonderful.
And then after that, something we have on the radar as well is launching the new praise spot, or I see it as launching the praise spot. I think the community will see it as launching the new reward system, because that is how it's going to be perceived. It's going to, start using the bot. The new bot start receiving actual reward payouts. So that is something we need to start thinking about how to do. We have talked about onboarding sessions. We need to have a massive push for members to activate their accounts in the praise system, so they connect their Ethereum addresses so they can receive payouts. And we need to inform the community about the fact that this is happening, that we have started doing quantifications, and so I think we will need to create some memes.
There was something blocking that, wasn't it, in our call yesterday?
Yeah, I'm not saying that we should do it start today, but this is upcoming, and we need to make a plan for the launch. And when we do push the launch button, I don't think it's next week, but maybe it's the week after that. We were discussing about Viva V is off this week, and there might be some small fixes needed for the praise bot. So those can be taken care of during next week, and then we can launch the think week after. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
And who should we involve for the memeing and the boosting the message for the community?
Everybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Memes is a community effort.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Let's.
you could probably loop in comms or communitas.
Yeah, and that's the one point I didn't add. Maybe we would like also to communicate externally somehow, and then we should involve acid laser or someone to do it in some fancy graphics, etc.
Yeah, and since we have some time, let's see if we can get the Bright ID thing in there. I added an explainer of the convo in the chat. Christopher, don't look like that.
Yeah. just throw it, just like take a major new feature and just like throw it in there. No worries. No, on the topic of Bright ID, we it does not necessarily have to be connected to the actual rewards, the actual token payout. So we can perhaps we can separate the two, and we can use. This is a big discussion still. I think we need to. I need to read up on this a little bit more. But in general, I would like the praise score that you have accumulated in the praise system, that would be a source for reputation rather than the payment of the token distribution.
Yeah, I just thought for the onboarding, like if we're gonna do a huge effort on onboarding, and if that would be a piece of it, would be nice to involve in the whole comms and the learning process.
Yeah, and when it comes to the payout, it's only the question who will make sure that everyone not only try to get an Ethereum address for everyone, but also check all the Ethereum addresses against the Bright ID to make sure that we only pay rewards to Bright ID verified users. I had some idea yesterday about maybe we could do some sort of script or some service that connects everything, but it would have to be sort of a separate thing. It could hopefully be like a quite small separate thing, but still a separate thing.
Nice. Yeah, I asked that to Adam, and he asked if that would be on chain, that verification.
Yeah, that is the question, and for the long term, I envision some sort of reputation engine where you can install plugins to the praise system, and define how you would like to track reputation yourself. A little like how Snapshot uses plugins. So you can have a source of reputation that says you are an active member. Maybe you have received X amount of praise every week during X amount of weeks. And we call that an active member. And then we can have another value saying you're not necessarily an active member, but you have at some time you have received praise, so that yet you are a known community member somehow.
Yeah, that was the praise reputation that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Right back then. It sounds more simple, but then, well, let's see how if let's just check if this is possible now, the Bright ID, and then if it's not, we think of a future solution.
So, from blocks how to get or
NT, you're breaking up something fierce. I can't understand you at all.
It's the same as last week, unfortunately.
I heard that clearly.
Is it better now?
Yeah, try again.
Okay. Seems like it's pretty early.
It's like
That's
you
from
have some sort of filter in your computer that
until
it lets coughing and short sentences through, but when you say something substantial, it's just like. I'm sorry. I would really like to hear what you say, but the noise makes it impossible. Can you, if you will, please post a text message in the channel afterwards, because now we are out of time. So thank you everyone for coming to this meeting. Good discussion, and
yeah.